nothing else works. And let me tell you what, when you see people that made money or at these big positions, you take a Faye McClure, she solved more problems than you. That's what that is. Because people that don't want to solve problems, they're going to have an awful time in this country. Because this country is nothing but problems. You understand? From the time you wake up. So you have to decide whether or not you're going to gear up to be able to play the game. You follow me? In other words, you got to tool up. And when you tool up, then you get better at solving problems. Okay? That's what this is about. Who do I know who knows who I need to know? Okay? That's the answer that all of us need to answer. And it's in your network of people if you use it properly. Okay? So when I have a problem, I think about who do I know who knows who I need to know. And usually that's 2 calls. I'm a 2-call guy. The president is a 1-call guy. Okay? In other words, when the president calls, I don't care where you are, you drop what you're doing. I'm about 2, 2.5. Okay? But I get to basically who I need to get to. You follow me? But you have to start with the right predicate. The person that's closest to who you need to be able to convert that person, to take your phone call. Okay? All right. So, let's go. I love these pins dropping. All right, here we go. All right. So this is the Weissman Museum. You can see the Florida Highway. This is Shirley, and this is Florida A&M when she got arrested. It's a great room. Good job, Larry and Khalil. Let's go right through here. Let's see. Am I doing all right, Tim? Yeah. All right. Just want you to stay close. Stay close. Okay. All right. Okay. So you'll see this afternoon, or some of you've already seen it. Okay. Am I pointing the right way? I'm not doing it lazy, I just wanted to move. Yeah. Danny, where are you? Okay. Get some batteries or something. Okay. Where's the computer? Where? Okay. So where should I be pointing? Okay. All right. So I got to do the next slide? Okay. All right. All right, please. Okay. All right. Okay. How about next slide? Okay. All right. Okay. So far, next week we were there for Super Bowl and the San Francisco and championship game. Unbelievable opportunity. 100,000 square feet. Not bad for a little couple from Tallahassee, 1967. But you're going to see this. Khalil and Larry have put together a immersive experience with all kind of animation, the Doris screens. They got our pieces walking and talking and doing all kind of crazy stuff. But it's really just a whole other way to reimagine the Kinsey collection. And we're very proud of it, so we want you to know about it, and we want you to come. Next slide. Let's go. And this gives you an idea. I am what time, circumstances, history have made of me, certainly. But I'm also much more than that. So are we all. James Baldwin. And one of the things you're going to find about the Kinsey family, Kinsey collection, we don't change our story. We don't care where we go. If you don't want our story, we're not coming. Because we don't modify, we don't abbreviate, because we tell you the truth.
That's right.
That's what this is about. It's called FACTS, facts. Facts matter. You can have your own opinion, you can't have your own facts. Okay? Next slide. Strive to give our ancestors a voice, name, and a personality, enabling the viewer to understand the challenges, obstacle, triumphs, accomplishment, and extraordinary sacrifice in building this country, because African Americans did everything. For the first 250 years in this country, the only people that worked were us. Okay?
Right.
But 250 years. And then after the Civil War, white people said, well, we don't want you working anymore. And we've been trying to get back to work since Reconstruction. Stay with me. Am I exaggerating? Okay. Since Reconstruction, we've been trying to get employed again at a rate commensurate with our population. That's all I'm saying. And if you're not going to do that, what are we talking about? Next slide. In America, your skin speaks before you do. Who's doing the slide now? Is it working yet? Yeah, now go back one and then we got it. Okay. All right, okay, all right. Go back one. All right, this is like the Pony Express, you know what I'm saying? All right, okay. African Americans have always been the litmus test. One more. All right. In America, your skin speaks before you do. Okay? So the darker you are, the more difficult it is to be in this country as a black person, right? Okay? I remember as a light-skinned brother in Florida, I had a problem getting brothers to treat me right because they thought, being light-skinned. So I know it from that standpoint. Any light-skinned brother in the room also understands that, right? We call them these tan brothers, you understand? All right, next slide. All right, African Americans have always been the symbolic litmus test for the viability of American democracy and symbolically represent the distance between the ideals of America versus the actual practices. Think about that. The ideals of America and what happens. And it really defines who's a citizen, who votes, who works, who goes to jail, who gets health care, who has wealth, and who lives in the ghetto. It's all based on skin color, okay? In another presentation, America owes black folks roughly $11.9 trillion. Give or take a couple trillion. Because that's what not being able to have an FHA loans did for you. You follow me? Not being part of the Homestead Act, not getting our 40 acres and a mule. You follow me? Not being able to get loans, not being able to be part of the VA when we got out of the war, not being able to go to college. Am I doing okay? That's what $11.9 trillion is. It's the deniability of a race of people that served and really didn't receive what the American government gave to everybody else. Okay? Redlining, okay? All of that is part of this $11.9 trillion. Next slide. The 3 Ps. The 3 Ps are prejudice, power, and privilege. Prejudice means skin color. Your skin speaks before you do. And if somebody can identify you, and let me say it this way, anybody in this room telling me that they don't racially profile, I don't want to talk to them. Because they're not going to like this conversation. You follow me? Because anybody can discern what to wear in the morning, what colors you got on, you know the difference between black and white, right? So I don't want people telling me, wow, I don't see color. Come on, man, are you kidding me? What DNA did you come from? Because it wasn't from this DNA called America. Because everything we've done has been based on color, okay? Since the founding of before the founding of this country, okay? Power means the state has the ability to enforce the prejudice. That's 18,000 police departments stopping black people at an inordinate rate. You know what I told somebody the other day? I said, you know what white people ought to do? They ought to take up a collection. I'm serious. They ought to take up a collection in every city based on their per capita. And put it in a fund to pay black folks tickets. You follow me? Because the only one getting tickets are black folks. So you literally can drive. I tell white people all the time, y'all ain't got no problem. Ain't nobody gonna stop you. You follow me? You can speed. You don't need to worry about no brake lights. Who cares about that? You follow me? All right, next slide. Oh no, and then privilege. I'm sorry. Go back to privilege. And leave it up. Privilege is, here's a good definition for privilege. Privilege is like being born on third base and thinking you hit a triple. That's what white people really think. I mean, at the end of the day, they say, man, I'm powerful. I just knocked. Come on, man. You got a bunt, maybe. You walk, maybe. All right, next slide, okay? All right, and here's a great example. The reason that black people get more advanced degrees than white people per capita, because they know the only way that they can get some equality is get a degree higher than their counterparts. And this statistic proves it. You follow me? In other words, and Khalil did a good job on this the other day, white males with some college are only 0.3% behind black males with a college education. Here's what it means. You can be white without a college education and basically make the same thing a black with a college education. Now, all of us in this room already know that. If you work for any company, you already know that, okay? And let me say it this way. Having been a vice president in Xerox in 1979, okay, Fortune 20 company, I know this stuff. Some people think I only just did the Kinsey collection. I said, well, you know, we did something else one day, you know. Okay, Khalil tell me to move. Okay, all right, but you see that, okay, next slide. Khalil, I'm trying. All right, the myth of absence, next slide, okay? All right, this is important. The myth of absence is really how America deals with black achievement. They just exclude us. They just ignore us. They just wipe us out of the conversation, the narrative. So here's what it says. In American history, as in American life, black Americans are invisible presences. Sit on that for a minute. Invisible presences. In other words, you're here. You're just not part of the story. You're not part of the picture. You're not part of the narrative. You're not part of the dialogue about this country. Okay. We are not seen not because of their absence, but because of the presence of a myth that prepares and requires their absence. Sit on that a little while, okay? The myth of absence, which expresses this idea and intention, operates not by misinterpretation and slander, but by silence and exclusion. By silence and exclusion. Khalil says it well. If you got a prom photo and somebody photoshops you out, you weren't there. You cannot prove that you were there. You follow me? And so much, and you will see this when we start talking about these wonderful brothers and sisters. It is just unimaginable. I mean, I think about Clark Gable coming down this doggone staircase, and he's got this woman on his arm, and I'm saying, you got to be kidding. And it's like something out of the movies, you understand? And everything about that doggone prison that they're walking down was done by black folks. And they are represented like they don't even exist. You follow me? Next slide. Here's a new vocabulary. Every time somebody see the word discovered, say conquered. It's hard to discover something that's already occupied. Hard, okay? You follow me? America had 10 million Indians when the Europeans came, and they discovered America. Okay? All right. Mercantilism means kidnapping, stolen. That's what happened. 12 to 15 million black folks. Every time you hear the word slave or it comes into your I want you to strike it out and I want you to say enslave. I want everybody to say enslave. 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 Say it again. Enslave. Because nobody woke up in Africa one day and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just never going to ever be free again, and then I'm going to make sure every one of my kids and their kids and their kids are never free again. And you know what? I don't want to work for no money. Why would I want to work for money? Hear what I'm talking about? I want you to respect our brothers and sisters. And you respect them by calling them the way they would love to be called, okay? And the last one, every time you see this doggone word plantation, strike it out and say prison. Say prison. Because guess what? Our brothers and sisters lived and died in that prison. It wasn't nothing but, they got this song said, I got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me, I don't like that. You know what I like? God bless the child got his own. That's right. What you all got to like, okay? The next slide. Transatlantic slave trade, next slide. All right, this is good here. Okay, 12 to 15 million black folks, stolen, mercantilism, that, you know that word again? There it is, okay? But this is it in practice. Guess what? 5 million black folks went to Brazil. 5 million. So you start saying, well, so if you go to Brazil, all of them look about my color. Because for 400-500 years, they tried to lighten the population. They did this in Cuba, in Colombia, in Argentina. You know, in 1852, 52% of the population of Buenos Aires was black. Follow me? By 1900, it was down to 2%. What happened? They sent all the men off the wall, they died, and then they put all the women and children in ghettos and let pestilence and smallpox and all the diseases, and then they brought all these Europeans from Italy that started talking about they created the tango. They did. You follow me? They didn't create the tango. It's Milongo. Read. Google. You know the word Google? Okay? All right. Okay. So I want you to go up here to the United States. Of the 12 to 14 million black people who were brought into this country, stolen, only 450, 60, we know exactly how many, but it was not over 500,000. So a very small, minuscule amount of people, black people. And we know where all these brothers and sisters came from. So if you see a brother and sister that looks like you, they probably a relative. Because we all came from the same, basically, the same part of Africa. Okay? So if they start talking about being cousins, you know, you probably are. Matter of fact, Shirley and I started looking at our history. We had to stop. We said, this is getting cool. You're getting too close. And then look at Mexico. Mexico, Veracruz, had more black people in the 17th century than Mexicans. Peru had more black people in the 15th century than Peruvians. Okay, all because of slavery. Next slide. Hit this one here. This is a little video inside of this. Nope, it's a play. Go back and hit play. I guess we're not going to see it. Okay? Okay? All right. Sit on this for a second. Okay? This is how our people came here. I want to use the word fictive. F-I-C-T-I-V-E. Fictive means we are family, but not blood. Because anybody who was on this slave ship had to figure out early and often that it was better to coalesce with the black people on the slave ship than be enemies of the people that you were captive of. Okay? So languages got changed, customs, music was all transmitted on the slave ship. And that's where the word aunts and uncle came from. You follow me? We became each other's aunts and uncles. You know, we adopted each other. It came off of this experience. Slave ships would be followed by sharks from Africa all the way to the Americas. Okay? They say you could smell a slave ship 5 miles away. And one of the most profitable business in the history of the world. Slavery. Right. Okay? It's pretty extraordinary, actually, when you think about it. Pretty extraordinary. 1808, Thomas Clark. So if we tell you something happened with the Kinsey collection, we document it. Okay? It ain't something we're talking off the top of our heads. Next slide. Now, this is incredible. Esteban of St. Augustine, Florida, 1595. Everybody heard of 1619, right? Right. We were here before 1619. We actually were here before 1607, which was the founding of Jamestown. Okay? Now, you say, well, how did that happen? Well, Menendez conquered, right? Not discovered, conquered St. Augustine in 1565. So we believe and are pretty sure that Estebana's, one of her parents, had to have been on the ship that came over in 1565, right? Because you know she didn't just get there on her own, right? I mean, you have to do the math. Okay, all right, okay, all right. Hit the next one. Well, we took that one out. We had a 1598 marriage certificate also from St. Augustine. This is Leo Africana 1600. This is in English. We also have it in Latin. Okay, this brother wrote about this great continent called Africa. So what we did, we went back to Africa and said, let's check out and see what Africa looked like before it was decimated by 12 to 15 million people. It's like taking look at, we're all the kings and queens of Africa in this room. You know what I mean? That's what all the African American population represents. All of this greatness. And 30% of the people that came from Africa on these ships were Muslims. Why? Because Muslims could read. They had the Quran. So we know that most of our merchants and business people were Muslim. That by the time they have gotten to us as parents, they may have changed. But the Muslim way of life is embedded into the black community. Next slide. At 9 years old, he was stolen from what we know as Nigeria. Okay? He goes on and becomes a captain of his own ship and sails the 6 continents around the world. Next, I'm going to try to get through this. Next. Yes, there was slavery in Mexico. This is Jose Montano being sold for 60 pesos. Okay, next slide. This was Mexico before the Mexican-American War of 1848. In other words, Mexico went all the way to Oregon. Okay? But America, let me tell you, America is the only country that defended itself from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Sit on that for a second. We defended ourselves because we're not a taking country. But in fact, everything about America, we took land. We took it from the Indians, we took it from the Mexicans, we took it from the French. You follow me? And we all took it in the name of we were defending ourselves. Okay, next slide. Vicente Guerrero. This document is in the Weissman. You need to go see it. And you know why you need to see it? Because this is a black president, the second black president of Mexico. I had read about this brother, and I said, you know what? I didn't believe it. But you can look at it, you can believe he's a brother. Right? Okay. So he's the second president of Mexico and also a general that helped liberate Mexico. But hit the next one, I'll show you what we have here. Now, only in the last 6 months or so, we find this document, which, think about this. We have the document that Vicente Guerrero read on his inaugural address, May 29th, 1829. So when you're holding this document, you're holding something that this brother here. You follow me? I think we know he lived. That's how you get in the Kinsey collection. It's got to be documented. Next slide. Oh, and he abolished slavery. That's what I love about brother. Brother get in the job, say, you know what, we're going to just quit this. We ain't doing that no more. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, Mexico ain't got no slavery. I mean, now, America, they wanted to perpetuity. You know, Lincoln offered the South 1861 or 1862. He said, you know what? If y'all just be cool, I'll let you keep your enslaved people to the 1900s. You know what the South said? No, we want it in perpetuity. You follow me? And then Lincoln said, you know what? We got a war. That's when we got a war. But look at this. Everybody in this room, the founders of Los Angeles, 1781, 26 Negroes, 26 Indians, and 2 Caucasians. Okay? We ain't making this stuff up either, just so you know. So, 26 Negroes, and see what we get hung up with our Latino brothers and sisters is, we speak Spanish too. We just dark-skinned, and we know that being dark-skinned and speaking Spanish, we don't get the same rights that light-skinned Mexicans get. You follow me? I know that for a fact, okay? So we call on our brothers and sisters that speak Spanish, Latinos in this town, to start saying black and brown like we say black and brown. You follow me? Because we keep fighting for freedom, and everybody's got a disability, LGBT, all the names on that spectrum. I don't know what all of it is anymore. All of it, black people have gone and fought for it. And everybody has benefited, sometimes more than black people themselves. And that's what I'm sick of, okay? You keep talking about minorities. I don't want anybody in this room using that word anymore, because you're not a minority. You're black folks. You're African American. And if you start saying that in that room, you will start sensitizing those people to who you are. But when you say I'm diverse, they ain't talking about you. They're talking about white females. They're talking about Latinos. They're talking about Indians. They're talking about, I don't know what they're talking about. But they're not talking about you. I've been in the boardrooms. I know. How we doing? How we doing? Okay. Next slide. Every time you get on Pico Boulevard, I want you to tip your hat. Okay? Every time you get on Pico Boulevard. Pico Rivera, that's a brother. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Do not let people tell you that we don't have dibs in Los Angeles. Well, they don't tell me that, you know, because they know that's just not a good, that dog won't hunt far, you know. I won't allow it. Because what they're doing, they're disabusing us of what we've done and not recognizing our agency. That's what this is about, agency. Next slide. Slavery. 4 million black people worked on 75,000 plantations from Kansas City to Kansas City, and took this country from a backwater to the most productive and rich country in the world, and we haven't given that up since 1872. That's what slavery did. But when you work as hard as black people work and didn't get paid, you ought to be rich. Okay? Let me give you a story. Charles Tiffany in 1857, he sent his son $500. And the son went out on Broadway and started a store. His dad was a cotton merchant in Montgomery. His son opened Tiffany with $500 of cotton money. You don't think black folks own some of Tiffany? So you got to start thinking like that. You don't think we own some of Tiffany? When John Brown brings up 100,000 black people from Africa to Rhode Island and becomes the richest guy in Rhode Island, and then founded Brown University. You don't think every black person ought to go to Brown free? Right. Open up. It's just logical. We're not asking for anything. They already got paid. We're the ones that didn't get paid. You know what they want you to do? They said, well, if you go find your ancestors, they work for Brown, we may give you a scholarship. Man, come on. You got to be kidding. Next slide. Beezer Butler, she is this girl's on Time Magazine, Essence, she's tremendous. Do we have peace here? We have peace here, okay. All right, next slide. She's a wonderful and a good friend on top of that. Any person made to kill or destroy slave? Yes, that's how they felt about us. So because we were property, they could do anything they wanted with us, including killing us. Okay, next slide. 3/5 of a person, 3/5 compromise. You'll probably go the rest of your life and never see this document. Why? Because it's fundamental and foundational to American history. 1787, the Continental Congress. Basically, the South kept saying, we need more parity. We need more. So the North kept saying, well, what do you want? They said, well, let's kind of enslave people. You follow me? Now, we ain't going to let them vote, but we're going to want you to count them so we can have more power. So they gave it to them. And guess what? They also created the Electoral College to equalize America. So who are the two presidents that were elected and didn't win the popular vote? Trump?
Bush.
One more?
Bush.
Bush. Okay. Now, isn't that ironical? Isn't that ironical? You understand what I'm saying? Okay? Slavery is still operating in this country today. And it operates through laws, mores, folkways, habits of thoughts, rulings, every day in this country. And what we have to do is understand we're in a fight for our lives. I really believe that. I really believe that. And we do not have time to rest. We have to lucky we live in California. Okay? But this thing called America is tenuous at best. Okay? Okay. Next slide. Okay. I used to hear about slave insurance. I didn't believe it. And then guess what? One day, found this document. Okay? Slave insurance. Everybody was insured because what? You were property. This young girl here, I love. If we had a little girl, this would be our little girl here. I love her. Okay. All right. Next slide. Fugitive Slave Bill, 1793. George Washington signed the Fugitive Slave Act, and it was codified in 1850. And what they did basically was it said that any white person could be deputized to go and basically arrest, capture, kill, whatever, black people. Now, if you think about what happens today with 18,000 police officers or the Arbery trial, think about that. The 3 white people just come out of their home, they're sitting there drinking tea, you understand, sweet tea, and they see this brother running by and they say, let's go get him. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, the brother running by and they said, but that came right out of 1793, 1850. What I'm trying to say to you is that as you understand how this country operates, particularly a lot of young black men, you have to know so you can navigate this system. That's what this is about. Because if you don't navigate it, you're going to get caught by it. Okay? Because it was designed to catch you. It is designed to catch you. And even the people, some of the police officers ain't bad people as long as they get the badge off of them, you know. But when they got that badge on, it's just a whole different mentality. It's a different mentality. We got 18,000 police officers police departments in this country that over-police black communities every day. Every day. And what we say is, give us a break a little bit, you know. I mean, we got 3 times the stops in LA. We're only 6% of the population. It's ridiculous. So it don't mean whether we got a liberal policies or not liberal policies. As a mayor, it still operates at a different level. Next slide. 12 Years a Slave. We all saw the movie. This is the book. And here's where it worked. When you left the North and go to the South, you were free game. You had to prove that you were free. And if you didn't have your papers or they didn't want to accept them, thank you, then you were enslaved. And what they would do is take you from the what did it say? The upper South to the lower South. Because in the upper South you could get away. Lower South you can't get away. So they took him to Louisiana. You follow me? 12 years trying to get out. All about the fugitive slave law. Next slide. Dred Scott decision. Dred and Harriet Scott left St. Louis, went to Minnesota, Chicago, or Illinois, free states, and they thought they had manumission. Manumission means we're free. So Dred and Harriet goes back to St. Louis. They say, hey man, we're cool. And no, we got you. They re-enslaved them, so they sued. Goes all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, no Dred, no Harriet, you're not free. And the other 700,000 free blacks are not free. So this gave Lincoln no other choice but to deal with the South a different way, because it was just clear that you couldn't have a country fractured the way it was. Next slide. Here comes Frederick Douglass. He's like, da, 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 da. This is a bad brother here. This is a bad brother. You know what I'm saying? abusive slave owner, and Frederick said, I'm gonna either kill him or just leave. So he left. You follow me? And almost got caught. What I love about this story, he was the most photographed and most listened to person in America in the 19th century. Okay? An enslaved, escaped person that goes to Europe, learns to read, becomes an orator, and he becomes the point of the spear about bringing black troops into the Union Army to fight, to ensure that the South does not win the war. Because in 1863, last time I checked, Pennsylvania, Gettysburg was in the North. We were losing this war until 180,000 brothers got. See, they didn't want to give no brother a gun because they thought they wasn't going to shoot the Southern. They were going to shoot them. Brother said, not yet. What we're going to do first, we're going to get them first. You understand? So the reality is that we had these 180,000, and 15 of the first 17 Medal of Honor winners were black people. It is 1% of the population, 10% of the Army, 25% of the Navy, black. Got that? 25% of the Navy during the Civil War were black. Robert Blake got the second Medal of Honor. From 1864, Navy. We fought in every war and did all the stuff that we're supposed to do, and we still got to worry about folks. Next slide. Okay. All right, when you want me to cut it? I'm in. Okay. All right. How we doing? All right. Everybody, how many of y'all heard of Anne Frank? How many of you heard of Harriet Jacobs? Okay. Well, Harriet Jacobs was Anne Frank before Anne Frank was Anne Frank. Because in the 1850s, she hid from an abusive slaveholder for 7 years, essentially in a coffin. Okay? Okay? Now, the question we got to ask is, we should know about Anne Frank because Shirley and I have been to the house in Amsterdam. But you ought to know about Harriet Jacobs. That's all we're talking about. We ain't talking about erasing nobody else out. We're just talking about putting us in. Next slide. Civil War. Here come these 180,000 brothers and some sisters, you understand? Next slide. Come and join us, brother, 1863. This was a recruiting poster used to recruit black, what they call colored troops back in the day. Next slide. Now, I love this. This is Emancipation Proclamation, September 24th, 1862. This is when Lincoln told his generals, get ready, I'm sending help. And these are the 180,000 black troops. And this is what started this whole change of the Union Army back in 1862, 1863. Next slide. A black Union soldier, sergeant, just so you know. Next one. And we had approximately 5,000 Confederate soldiers that fought with the South. We're not sure whether they were under duress or what. Okay? Okay? But the fact of the matter is, we couldn't talk about it until we got a shot of them. You follow me, in a uniform. Next slide. Early genius. I love early genius. We're gonna try to get through early genius so we can go. Next slide. This sister, Phyllis Wheatley, she comes on the slave ship Phyllis. The Wheatley family buys her. She becomes Phyllis Wheatley. Ain't that a way to get your name, right? She speaks no English. In a couple years, she's speaking Latin, English. She's playing the piano, violin, and becomes the second book publisher black in this country, the first one to write a book of poems, in September 1st, 1773. And John Hancock, you know, the signature Hancock, you know, the founder, he didn't want to let this sister get her book published in the United States. And America, with its hypocrisy, is fighting the British at the same time that they don't want this sister to get a book published. So guess what? The Wheatley family takes her to England. And this book is English, as you can see, you know. This is an English edition, which is the most rare part of the Phyllis Wheatley book. Okay. Next. Benjamin Banneker, the first scientific book written by an African American. I mean, you just can't speak too much about this brother. Matter of fact, he also was the guy that finished laying out Washington, D.C. when the French decided that they weren't going to finish it. So, you know, Benjamin said, man, I got this. I can do this. And went ahead and did it. You follow me? You know the Statue of Freedom on top of the Capitol? Same thing. They had an Italian sculpture. True story. So he builds this thing up, and then as soon as he gets ready to go up, he said, I'm not going to finish it until you give him more money. So they hemmed and hawed. He went back to Italy. So Philip Reed, an enslaved person, 1856, said, I got this. He put the Statue of Freedom on the Capitol. That's a brother. But all his other brothers also built everything that we know is the Capitol. Right. Every stone, every banister, every window, black people did the Capitol. Okay, next. Scott Duncanson. Khalil, when you want to come on up, whenever you're ready. Okay. All right. Scott Duncanson, 1865. You ever go to Cincinnati? There's a place, the Taft Murals. Okay, they are just gorgeous. They are, not the Taft, the Duncanson murals. And this brother was painting before the Civil War in the 1850s. His paintings are at the White House right now, but also the Queen of England and the Queen of Norway has this brother's paintings. Okay? Next one. Grafton Tyler Brown, the first African-American painter in the West. This is Mount Tacoma, which is now called Mount Rainier. Next one. Next. Also Grafton Tyler Brown, Charles Ethan Porter. Stop it right here, and I'll give it to you right here, Khalil, after this. Edward Mitchell Bannister, 1876. This brother wins the highest award for art in the United States. And we didn't even know black people were painting back then. Not only were we not painting, we were just going, what I used to say, you give us tools or no tools at all, we still go to great heights. This is an example of that. So I am pleased to yield to my son, Shirley Kinsey. Hold up.